The pacing of this episode was slightly slower compared to the first one, but there was so much depth and story and character development. Absolutely wonderful. Akame ga Kill, Episode 2, Kill the Authority. Well, hello my brothers and sisters and fellow Night Raid enthusiasts of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and epic and just bloody tale of Akame ga Kill. Now, our last episode, of course, being the premiere episode, although I jumped on board a bit late, boy, man, I tell you, the hype is real. I was not disappointed at all. There was a lot of action, a lot of gore. The animation is beautiful, and really, all in all, it was just I think you couldn't have a better premiere for any type of series in an anime than this, because at least what I've seen so far. Because the whole idea is whether it's seasonal or ongoing, you still want to be able to draw people in. And a lot of times you only get, you know, what do they say? It's you only have one chance to make a first impression. And sometimes if that first episode or two are a little bit slower because you're trying to build and develop the story and there's just not a lot of action, there's not a lot to really grab the casual viewer, you know, the people just, you know, it's a very much a now type of society, and we just push it off to the side. So did such a great job of just really bringing you in, and I know I'm hooked. So without further ado, we'll get right into it though. So obviously at the end of last episode, the main character, Tatsumi, had been invited by Leone to join Night Raid, and more like kidnapped is what it looked like. So that's how the episode left off, and that's right where this one picks up. In the first half, developmentally wise, there's a lot of story. Action wise, it's a little bit on the slow side of things. What winds up happening as we see back at Night Raid's secret base or headquarters, Tatsumi is basically, you know, invited to join join Night Raid. And he's like, I don't know if I want to do this. So anyway, Leone says, and Leone's the big boobs blonde chick, so she goes and says, listen, I'll introduce you to everybody else. She takes him around, introduces him to the rest of the crew, Sheely, the pink pigtail-haired girl, excuse me, Mine, I believe her name was, and then Boulet. They wind up, he's this dude with this huge pompadour, and he was actually the one in the first episode that had the armor on. There's Lubbock, I remember Lubbock, and then of course there's Akame, and we know her. Obviously, we saw her in action a bit in the first episode, and then their leader is Agenda, I believe. And the leader is actually pretty cool. It has like this bionic-looking eye thing and this hand that comes out and everything, like a robotic, like some part bionic or something like that. So it kind of reminds me of, it has sort of that fantasy element to it, but it also has kind of a sci-fi element as well. Anyway, after introductions are done, and it winds up being Tatsumi does, you know, agree to, once he actually speaks with the leader, with Agenda, and Agenda says, listen, this is what we do. We, you know, first of all, we're like an assassin group for the Revolutionary Army. The Revolutionary Army is a bunch of rebels that want to rise up against the capital and the Prime Minister and his evil ways, this corrupt person, right? So the whole idea of them is to go and do these little hit-and-run tactics, whatever needs to be done to start kind of taking out some of the cancerous spots, I guess you would say, in the city. And then when the Revolutionary Army comes to just kind of take over and whatever assault or attack there is, you know, obviously Agenda says things won't be over until the Prime Minister dies by my hand. So that's the end game, that's the goal. And Tatsumi, you know, his whole deal was, you know, obviously, you know, saving his village, you know, that sort of thing. And his village, even being on the outlying areas, it all starts in the middle, you know, it all starts at the heart of it in the capital. So he decides to join them, and he's immediately tasked with being Akame, who he thinks is kind of creepy. He winds up being her, you know, he has to shadow her, basically. She's going to train with him. Well, she's in charge of cooking, so all he's doing for what it appears like days through like this quick montage is just cooking and cutting up shit and cooking. And he's really bored. They go fishing one day, you know. He almost flips out because she goes to pull her top off and he thinks that she's butt naked, but she actually has a bikini on. So, nonetheless, though, there is a lot of the funny fan service in here as well. You know, just kind of a shot that pans by and just shows like you know, like a close up of a girl's ass or the side boob shot. But anyway, nonetheless, though, it's not too much. I don't think. It's not too much to where it detracts from what's actually happening. The things that I took from this episode was, one, Akame and her background. She was raised in the capital as an assassin, part of this elite assassin group, and basically wound up seeing throughout the years that she was an assassin, thinking that she was fighting for good or brainwashed or whatever you want to say, a combination of both, thinking that she was doing the right thing. Wound up seeing many of her friends and what have you. I think even her own sister, a family member of hers, die in the process. And actually, Negenda was a target of hers, right, as an assassin. And Negenda was able to talk her into, coming over, switching sides, right, and turning on the government, or whatever you want to call it, this prime minister, and fighting for good, And what I liked about this is that Tatsumi, at one point when he joined, he goes, "Oh, good, so you're like titans of justice, And they're like, they started laughing, and they said, "No, make no mistake about it. We're still murdering people. We're killing people. At any time, we could be wiped out for what we're doing. This is not. It's not like it's a good thing. It's a necessary thing, but it's not something that should be glorified, And whatnot. And I like that too. So Akame, though, you get that whole background of her, and you find out that that's why she's a little bit off. She's a super just crazed assassin killer, but it's because she was raised and programmed that way from a young age. Remember, children very young and impressionable. A child, when they're a few years old, they have no concept of mortality or being tired or anything. They just keep going, and the whole world is just so big and bright and vibrant. But if you take a small, impressionable child and you tell them something over and over again, show them something over and over again, something to that effect, you can, literally wind up having this monster on your hands when you're, when they're an adult. I guess it would be considered like a form of programming, mental programming or what, whatever you want to call it. So, I thought that was kind of cool and kind of neat to see, and delve into her past a little bit. We wind up going and getting towards the end of the episode, though. They're actually going to go out on a mission. And the mission is by these two corrupt officials. One is this soldier, this leader of soldiers, a Captain Ogre. Captain Ogre, his name is, and he's this badass, feared swordsman, just looks real cool. And then Gabal is this, like, just fat shit merchant. And basically, they're both corrupt as shit, and the Night Raid was hired by them to try to take them out, by the fiance of someone who had been framed and killed and everything else by these two corrupt individuals. So anyway, Tatsumi winds up actually getting put on the mission to go and take out Ogre, because he doesn't have a face that is on all the wanted posters like many of Night Raid's members do. Leone and Akame are tasked with taking out Gabal, the fat shit merchant. So they wind up going, so there wasn't a whole lot of action or intensity until the last few minutes of the episode. Then all of a sudden, man, it just slaps you in the face and just puts the pedal to the metal and just keeps going, It's like that crazy drunk aunt, and you're like driving home with her, and you're like, "Oh shit, hey, hold on, you can just drop me off here, I'll walk, you ain't gonna get there any quicker if you did." Anyway, so they wind up showing Akame and Leone go and take out this Gabal, and I liked it because you can tell he's like this pervert, womanizer type guy, and as they go and stab him and kill him, I think it's Leone that says, yeah, you're lucky night for you get to be with two women, so as they gut him and kill him. Anyway, Tatsumi goes and winds up attacking Ogre. First, he winds up breaking him off from everybody by saying he has to tell him something in private, and is able to get him into this alley. Then he goes and begs as if he wants to go and join the army, and that he needs like kind of an in to get in, and then winds up going and attacking him. He thinks he takes him down, this Ogre, with this one slash, because he's so fast, and he's going and he's talking about how he's a badass, he's dancing around, and all of a sudden this dude stands up behind him and just goes it just comes at him. And the ensuing battle, like I said, just the animation is so wonderful and fluid, and just the blood spouting everywhere is just absolutely cool. And I think for this particular type of story, it's absolutely necessary, just because of the way everything's told. I don't know how you could, really censor a lot of this stuff out. But anyway, through this couple of minute battle, Tatsumi and Ogre go at it. And Tatsumi winds up coming out on top. But I mean, after he winds up going and taking him out, dude's got his arms cut off. There's blood spewing from these cuts, and he just falls to the ground. And then at the end, I actually thought it was kind of cool. It was sort of touching. Akame goes and he says, "Oh, he boasts about how he didn't even get hurt and this and that." Because she told him, before the mission, just don't be arrogant anymore. Just put your money where your mouth is. Come back from the mission alive and you'll have proven yourself. So he comes back talking shit. "I didn't even take a scratch, this and that." All of a sudden, she goes, her and Leone go and pull his shirt off and depants him. Dude's standing there in his underwear. She's inspecting him to make sure he doesn't have any wounds and that he was telling the truth. A friend of hers or something in the past, something like that happened, went out on a mission, was real boastful about it when he came back, didn't want to admit that he had some wounds, and had actually been poisoned, wound up dying from his wounds. So it was kind of cool to see that Akame, as dark as she is, actually cared for him, you know, and she said it's fine, just as long as you keep coming back from missions, you know. So that was definitely kind of cool to see the human side as well, that they hadn't programmed everything out of her. So I am so stoked for the next episode and just this series in general. Everybody tells me nothing but good things. Certainly really am enjoying it just thus far through the 2 episodes. So at the end of it, though, he finds out that, because he's like, oh, I'm cool with Akame, I'll work with her, right? And then he goes and the agenda says, no, now you'll be working with mine. And I think it's mine. And she's the pigtailed haired girl, and she's been making fun of him ever since she's seen him, you know what I mean? So it's going to be very cool to see that, and I think very comical as well. But that's how the episode ends off. My episode question for you, brothers and sisters, is out of all the characters that were introduced from Night Raid, which ones are your favorites? And instead of just favorite, why don't you just give me top 2 or 3 favorites, since it is a team of, I believe, 6 or 7. And leave your answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation.
Thanks for watching. We will see you in the next one. Comment and like and subscribe.